Hi, everybody. Dave Clark from InspectCheck-net. Today, this video, and I know I had talked about it in another video. We look at electric service, and it's tough to look at a main service panel or sub panel and not find multiple things. And I try to focus on what we're looking at, but you could really go off into a tangent because there's so many other issues. So we'll try not to do that with this one. But I want to talk about um, is it updated, and why is this like a little bit of a stone in my shoe? So you look at a listing, if you even look at them, or your client will tell you, and they'll say, look, the electric is updated, electric service updated. I mean, not replaced, right? So they use the word updated. So are they technically right that it's updated? Look, 90% of the time when they say electric updated, it's just got a new main service panel, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's a good start, but they haven't done much of anything else. Maybe a new main service cable coming in, and maybe not. Maybe they just didn't, Hopefully it was permitted work and it was done by an electrician that knows what they're doing. But that's why they're paying us the big bucks to take a look at it. So what I want to show you today is, so when you see that it says, oh, electric service is updated, or you go down the basement or wherever you are in the utility room, and you see a brand new panel sitting there, and you think, oh, this is great. Well, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. It's hit and miss on these things. And what did they do with the branch circuits? How could you advise your clients? We're going to do one just on branch circuits, but anyway, you could still advise them just by opening that panel. You could see how much of the service really was updated. We know that the hardware was updated, and maybe the service size and hopefully voltage, but we don't know about the other branch circuit wiring. So let me share my screen with you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And I know you've seen some of these in previous videos, especially this one. Here you go. This is a perfect video. It's exactly what I want to show you. Okay. Or it's really not a video. It was a video, but not anymore. So here we go. Here's an updated main service panel. And again, it says, updated electric service. And so they actually did a nice job. And I'll show you inside some of the panels. I don't know if it's this one or not. And we'll see that here is our, I like the yellow. Let me go. Here's our main service cable coming in. And we see that that's new, right? Looks like a number 2 aught, so 100 amp service probably. And we're going to see our 2 grounds. I'll get fancy and go to green. So we have 2 grounds coming out. As a home inspector, we like to see 2 grounds, either to a driven rod, or one to a driven rod and one maybe to a water pipe, a metal water pipe on the street side of the meter if you have it. But we're going to just take a look here. Let's go over here, and we're going to say, now this is a newer non-metallic, or some you'll call it a Romex, and that's going to be a newer branch circuit maybe, but it definitely newer than the other ones. And more than likely, not more than likely, it will have 3 conductors and it will have a ground. So let's just put a G there. So we're going to say that's going to be grounded, and hopefully it's connected right. We're not going to worry about inside the panel yet. We'll get there. All right, then we take a look at some of these old cloth ones, right? And this will say is cloth. These 2 are cloth. Are they grounded? I don't know. Depends on the age. Some of these were grounded. Some of these were not grounded. This is another one. Is it grounded? I don't know. Again, older cloth, right? Older cloth here. So we don't really know till we look into the panel, but that just gives us already, puts a flag up. See this AC or BX? It may or may not be grounded also, but it could be bonded. And we'll talk about that at another video, but basically it's bonded to the equipment, and the equipment is grounded. And this may go to, if it goes to a metal box somewhere, it may provide bonding, which is almost as good as grounding, but not as good, right? Grounding is really the best way to go. Okay, so we can see newer, older cloth, even older, it looks like cloth, and some AC or BX cable. Okay, so we get the idea. So even though we know that the main service was updated and the new main service cable was put in right here, we see that a lot of the branch circuits are not. So let me move over to here. Share this one with you. All right, so here we go. Again, the listing says, again, all these, the listings say electric service updated. So here's a newer main service panel. I don't know how old some of these pictures are. I've been doing this for, I don't know, a long time. And we can see the problems at the top where, we get it. There's no bushing there. That's a big violation. By the way, that should flag you that this was not done by a qualified or licensed electrician, whatever you want to call them. But I really want to kind of keep it on what we're looking at. And you could see here, older cloth wiring coming in, non-grounded. So, you start seeing this inside the panel and you look for grounds, and some inspectors count them. I think after you start doing this for a while, you won't have to count anything. All you'll have to do, just look and say, well, that's not going to be grounded, no ground here, and we'll do it in green. No ground, no ground. Hopefully these are going to be grounded, these newer ones coming in. Again, I know there's a lot of other problems. This should be cut back. You only have about 1 inch of insulation. There should be bushings up there, non-short bushings, all that. But right now we're just going to kind of focus on what we're looking at. And you're going to see down here, again, older stuff, not going to be grounded, not going to be grounded. Okay. So that's how we know, without even going into the house with a tester, to see that a lot of these branch circuits are not going to be grounded. So even though they updated the panel, there's still a lot of these that are not grounded. So let me come over to here, share this with you, and here we go. Here's another one. Okay, this is probably one of the best examples. Again, we're not going to worry about the other issues in the box, but let's just take a look here. So again, new main service panel. Let me grab yellow. Here's our main service panel. I should say, here's one of our main disconnect, and then we start coming down, and we can see that. And I'll go with green, and I'm gonna put the ones in green that are probably grounded. That's probably grounded. That's probably grounded. That's probably grounded. Again, we can trace them. And we're not going to do that because the video, I don't want to keep you here all day. That's probably grounded, probably grounded, probably grounded. This one should be, because these are all probably grounded. So you say to yourself, well, that's not bad, right? But now we go to the one that's not going to be grounded, and we're going to see this older one is not going to have a ground. This branch circuit's not going to have a ground. This double pole, keep a close eye on it. That's old stuff. It may have just a neutral and not be grounded, depending on where it's going. That could be an issue. That's something an electrician could look up. So here's a perfect example. Again, when we say electric service updated, okay, it was, but really, was it all? Not I always like to say half of the job was done. It was partially done. Okay, see that? Very good. Let me come over to here, and I think I showed you this one on another one. This is another great example. I've got so many pictures. I should write a book. I think I am writing a book. But let's take a look. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take ground in green, and we're going to say what more than likely is grounded. Now, again, we're going to trace these when they come in. You got to do that. Okay, I know a lot of electricians or home inspectors say, no, that's it. That's just got to update the service. You got to be fair to your client. So this one's going to have a ground, a ground, a ground. These are all, looks like exterior ground contact wires or whatever. Ground. Okay. Here, by the way, is our one of our grounds coming out. We'd look for 2. There could be another one coming out the side. But which ones are not going to be grounded? Well, these are knob and tube, my friend. So not going to have a ground there, not going to have a ground there, not going to have a ground there for sure. These old knob and tube ones. Now, what about these old cloth ones? Well, we're going to give it the old question mark, right? So it could be grounded. There's my question mark. It could be grounded. We got to follow in and take a look. If you see a bare wire there, then good. Even though it's older cloth, I still would make a note of it. I'll show you how I do it. Again, are they grounded? I don't know. So it's not fair. I mean, just take a look at what we've got here. The listing says updated electrical, but is it really? I guess so. Says the panel is, the box is, the hardware is, but a lot of these are not. And I know there's things you can do. We can add GFIs to the beginning run of a non-grounded circuit. But really the best way is to have everything grounded. That's really the best way. And we're not going to get into that in this video. Okay. And another great example, right? And again, we haven't even looked inside here, but I could tell you I'm going to be right. So we'll take our green. This is probably going to have a ground. And now we have to assume that everything's connected properly. Okay. It's going to be a ground. This is going to have a ground. This is going to have a ground. This should have a ground. That should be grounded. And you see all the newer stuff, right? Ground, ground. Now we start getting into the old cloth. And you could even see here, you know, if you look right here to try to find that third wire, and I'm going to say, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. But just by looking at the outside, and you can see that this has been updated. New main service cable coming in. So just so you get an idea, I think everybody understands what I'm trying to say here. Just because it was said it's updated doesn't mean it. So how are we going to convey this to our client? Well, I'm glad you asked. So we're going to go right to the InspectCheck report or whatever report you're using, and we're going to head right over to electric. Okay. And we don't have to fill all this out. Main, that's great. It's overhead maybe, or underground. Where's the meter? What's the main conductor type? All those things that you need to. Okay. You need to make a note. This is all for main service. Looks okay. So it's a main service disconnect. But main service disconnect, I should say, what type is it? Breakers were mostly what we saw in there. And we look at, again, this is the condition of the main service, okay? But if we go to service size, we would have to note whatever that was updated to, all right? So even though it's older branch circuit and all that, but what did they update the main service panel to? Number one. And number two, what is that main service conductor coming in, that main service cable? What is it rated for? So that could be fine, right? That could be 100 amps, 240 volts, 150 amps, whatever. That's fine. We're not really too concerned about that. And the size of the service itself, we'd say, would be satisfactory. But let's take a look at our panels themselves. So again, we would note circuit breakers, okay, all that stuff, sub panels if we have them. Connections appear satisfactory. That we could do that, right? So we'll take a look at the nicest of the updates. Say it looks good, you know, and there's really no multiple lugging, you know. We saw the one where the wire clamp connectors bushing should be installed on the top. That was a disaster. But this is right here. Okay, this is what I hit all the time for this condition. So it says the main service panel has been updated. However, many branch circuit conductors are older. And InspectCheck goes on to advise your client by saying the main service panel and possibly the amperage or voltage have been updated, which is true. However, many of the older branch circuits are still in place. Refer to other areas in this section as to the visible condition of these older branch circuit cables, receptacle switches, etc. Recommend evaluation by a licensed electrician and updating the older branch circuits as necessary. I mean, I can't say it any better than that. I agree with that 100%. So now what? We're going to refer to other parts of the report. So far we said the electric service was good. You know, the main service disconnect was good. Everything's good. Now this is the first kind of flag that we put out there. Okay. So we're going to go right over to branch circuit wiring, and without even putting a tester in, right? And we could say again, you know, what is it? It's copper clad. That's fine. Do we have 240 volts? Yes. But look, we can come right over here and put open grounds noted. How do I know that? I haven't even put a, you know, install 3-prong grounding receptacles. Well, how could I say that? I didn't even go through the house with my little tester. It doesn't matter because I know that. If it's 2-wire and there's no ground, unless they grounded it somewhere else, individually grounded it, it's not grounded. It's as simple as that. So this is how we're advising our client. It says the licensed electrician should evaluate and properly ground all receptacles. If older 2-prong receptacles are noted, a licensed electrician may have to replace the supply wires in order to properly ground them, you know, or add a ground. You know, an alternative is maybe a GFI and arc fault, GFI arc fault combo or something on the first line. But that's the electrician's job. We don't want the client doing any of that. But many older, and this says install 3-prong grounded. Many older electric service receptacles are 2-prong non-grounded receptacles. Grounded receptacles provide safety by providing a path if a fault occurs in a circuit. Many modern appliances will only plug into 3-prong grounded receptacles. A licensed electrician should properly wire and install 3-prong grounded receptacles as necessary, okay, or recommended. So between these two, we're giving them all kinds of red flags saying, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of open grounds noted in the house. Is that a major defect? It depends, I guess, on what you think. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as most electricians are concerned, everything should be grounded. So we're telling them we recommend they do that. If we head over to conductor insulation, again, that's going to tell us we got non-metallic, right, which is okay. But then we saw some armored, which is okay too. But then we see cloth, okay, on the older stuff. We see knob and tube on the older stuff. Knob and tube is usually not grounded. Recommend a licensed electrician remove the knob and tube and update with modern approved wire. Some of you may disagree with that. I know there's a lot of municipalities that don't require that to take place. I disagree. To me, knob and tube's got to go, but that's okay. Considerable dry rot noted to the older stuff, definitely, right? Let them replace it, and I would put older branch circuit wiring, okay? Replace as necessary, and I would just put in here in parentheses, older branch circuit wiring. Okay, so again, we're maybe kind of saying, yeah, the electrics was updated. So then, someone's going to look at the report and say, well, wait a minute, the electrics updated. This guy's saying there's no grounds. We don't have 3-prong grounded receptacles. We've got dry rot on some of the older stuff. There's knob and tube, which he flagged as dangerous. So wait a minute, I thought the electric was updated. So that's why that drives me a little bit crazy, because although the electric was updated, I mean, that's not a lie, right? It was updated. It was, part of it was updated, but there's still a lot of parts that are not. And so I want to make sure my client knows exactly what we're talking about here. It was updated, but only part of it. But here's what you need to do to properly update the rest of it. So I hope that made sense to everybody. I know I get rambling sometimes, and I get passionate with this because I love it. But please subscribe, and you'll be the first to get these videos. There's a lot of them, and we're putting them out every single week, sometimes more than one a week. I've got so much material. I just love sharing it with everybody. You can also go to homeinspectortrainingonline.com, and there's all kinds of other great information there for you too. So until I see you next time, have a great day.